All right, guys. So I wanted to make this video to just go over again the idea of sketching and how sketching can help you plan out your drawings. So for today, we are starting a new warm-up. This warm-up, like I said, last time we had the warm-up of the fish hooks, and a little at a time they're going to be progressing, you know, till they get a little bit harder and harder till we work throughout the year to a much more advanced picture. So for this one, you have two characters in it, and like I said, all sketching is you using simple shapes. Usually when I'm working with this, I might, you know, do use circles, use ovals, lines for sure. You know, a lot of people squares, rectangles, shapes that are, you know, easy to break up, triangles. And with those, they break down. What they're doing is they're looking at their picture and breaking it down into these simple shapes. So as you can see, whenever I draw my circles and ovals and lines and all, I'm not trying to draw like one perfect circle. Well, even though that's not a perfect circle, oh my Lord. There. What I'm doing is I'm very loosely, you know, and you know, just trying to draw these shapes with very loose lines. Because if you're doing this correctly, you're supposed to be sketching very light, and then once you start building up your picture, then the sketch lines, when you get done, you'll be erasing and getting rid of them. So remember, when you sketch, it's loose, light, and quick. You know, if I would have to give myself like a time frame of how long a sketch should take, you know, for these pictures that we're doing, for these warm-ups, it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. If you're spending more time than that on your sketch, then you're really not using it correctly. So for today's picture, I have a couple characters. And when I look at it, and this picture is going to go this way, portrait orientation, I can kind of see that the character is one on the top half, one on the bottom half. Okay, so for the first character, I would call him circle oval size, and he's kind of in this more left of the picture, maybe that size. And then I have a second character who's kind of doing this thing, and it kind of looks like this. And guess what? That is actually my sketch for this picture. There's other things that are in the background. There's more details, but for me, this would be my sketch because it tells me where the main shapes of this drawing are. So what do I do next? Well, now I start to build up my picture and pay attention to more of the details. Now, if I was going to call this my rough sketch, I could actually take a look at more of the details of the picture and sketch those in. You know, not worry about, you know, drawing things that are too finished, but kind of just sketching them in. I could do that also. Maybe this could be like my second level. And little at a time, all you're doing is you're building up. And that would be my second level sketch, right? So now that I have this, maybe I can start looking at doing more of my final lines. So now that I have this, then I'm gonna take my, and I'm gonna use a black marker so hopefully you can see the difference. I'm going to try to look exactly at what the angles of each line are and try to match that as close as I can onto my paper. And these lines are still, you know, a little bit loose, not exactly super tight. And little at a time, I would build this up into a finished piece. So that's kind of like the process that I take. It's building up a little at a time. And once I have this, then I could erase my sketch lines. And that's kind of the idea I'm trying to show you, building up your picture. Now, a lot of us might get frustrated because our picture doesn't look exactly like what's on the page. Listen, this takes practice, so don't get frustrated or don't get unmotivated if your pictures don't look exactly, if your drawing does not look exactly like what it is on the board. A little at a time, you're gonna build up those those drawing skills, and you will get better. You just gotta try your best to replicate whatever you see on the board. So that's kind of what I would work with, right? And a little at a time I would continue building this. At the end, you get rid of your sketch lines, and that would be your drawing. All right? Well, listen, you guys are gonna have 4 days to work on this. 4 days. So today, start with a nice sketch. Like I said, let me show you the picture. See, the reason I split this in half, and I'm kind of measuring half and half, right? The page. And in my mind, I mentally broke this in half right here. So this oval is a little bit scooted to the left. Then I had this shape that was kind of like squarish, and then another circle up here for his head. Some of you guys might split this in half, top left, and then left right. You know, that might also help you. Look, his eye is kind of right on this line, and you can see what's left and right, and that might help you put it in perspective. So start with the two main characters. Once you have those drawn in, then you can worry about all this stuff in the background and go from there, all right? Okay, I'm gonna let you guys get to work. Have fun. Remember, draw light until it's right. I'll even write that down so you can see it. Draw light until it's right. And you want to remember that, because if you have like super dark lines, if you mess up and you try to erase those, you're still going to have those ghost lines. It might even dig into your paper depending on how dark you drew. So you got to practice drawing light, starting super light with the sketch, and little by little build it up until you have a nice finished product. All right, guys.